Hey, I'm Eric Perkins. Welcome to our YouTube channel about construction stuff. Today we're going to see if adding a skateboard to the bottom of your circular saw base will make it any better. Let me clarify just a little bit. What we're going to do is try out this Sidewinder skate plate, which is something I picked up and it looked interesting enough to make a video about. This basically clamps onto the base plate of your saw and it's got wheels on it and some other kind of cool features. It was about 80 bucks. And we're going to see if it actually makes a difference. I'm just going to test it out. And welcome to my garage, by the way. This is a bunch of junk. The package that I have here is a combo kit, and that means it comes with a rip guide as well that also has tiny wheels on it that ride against the edge of your material as you're ripping. So here's the claims, okay? Let's see what it actually says it'll do. It says it's designed basically for all kinds of cuts. It lists those. It says it's faster, increases your cutting speed, glides over surfaces, and eliminates friction. Sounds reasonable. And here's actually the reason I was interested in this thing is because it eliminates scratching. It rolls over the surface of your material. And let's look at the base of my saw here. You can see it's not smooth. It's pretty rough, and it's aluminum or magnesium. Whatever it is, it will tend to actually scuff painted material, even scuff my fingers. You can see that just rubbing over that, I've got now sort of gray metallic stuff on my fingers. You don't want that on your finished material. We're going to see if this thing like glides or what it does. And it also says it has improved safety, like better accuracy, reduced kickbacks, and reduces strain and fatigue, which I guess means if you're running a saw all day, your arm won't be tired. All right, let's open this thing up. We've got this thing unpackaged, so let's check it out really quick. Initial thoughts, this thing does roll pretty easily. You know I gotta try this. Almost. I noticed that it is crowned, and that's kind of a lumber term. If you look down, it bows this way, and I can only imagine that's on purpose so that the wheels touch and that the middle of this base plate does not touch your work surface. We'll start with this, and okay, that was easy enough. Now I'm going to bump it all the way to the front and start here. Next, I'm going to do the clamps on the back, and let's see how this goes here. Okay, that wasn't bad. All right, there's a place for a third clamp, but I'm not going to put it in for now. I think 2 feels pretty great. And for the front, all I see is this little guy. And I can only imagine it does that, and I can guess it's only friction because there's no way to clamp that in unless I'm missing something. Let's put this together. So this is going to go for maximum width out of this side. We're going to go inside. Short guy. That looks right. Right there. And if I had to do this again, I would do this before I put the roller on. So I think that's actually a pretty smart thing there because now I can push with my hand to keep this from wanting to get in a bind, which I think is a good idea. So let's put that on. We will have the complete Sidewinder skate plate assembled and ready to go. That's it. Let's give it a shot. Made a new blade and a new pencil. So we're going to check our depth adjustment. Doesn't hinder anything there. I can go full depth. And our bevel adjustment also clears. No hindrance there, so that's good. Let's set up our first experiment here. This is what you get when I'm at home. I got a little paint bucket stand, for a nice piece of white painted material. That's a 1x12 primed, and that's the type of material that will scuff really easy because it's basically super flat paint, that primer is. So let's try to cut a piece, see what happens. Do the giant speed square. Strike a line and see what happens. Okay, well, I can tell you there are no scuff marks here, but when the wheel dropped off the edge of material and then the back wheel hopped up, that was a different feeling. So it worked. I'm not going to say this is going to be great for cross-cutting though, because of the wheels jumping on and off. But I didn't scuff my material, and I think really quick I'll just take this thing off and I'll just run this across that same material to show you, what I generally run into here when I run the saw base across a nice painted material is that. Let me show you up close. So it did prevent that stuff, which is good if you're cutting a material that's like fully finished. That's a good idea, or blue tape. So I don't know which is faster, but that would be one way to do it. Okay, moving on, we've tested on this piece of material. Let's move on to some sheet goods, because I think that would be the best use of this, is cutting and ripping sheet goods. So we're going to test the rollers on the rip guide and see how it works. I got some cutoffs from a project I'm working on, and for you, I will sacrifice these sheets of wood. Okay, I've cut about 1 million sheets of plywood in my day, OSB, any kind of sheet goods, building dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of houses. So I can give you a real good opinion on that. What I didn't like was I could not really use my indicator mark for my blade cut line to run along the pencil line because it was not directly on the surface of the workpiece. So you saw me leaning around and I was looking at the blade on the line. So just using this without the rip guide, you're going to have to look at the blade and not look at your indicator mark, which I do a lot when I'm ripping sheet material, especially for framing purposes, where it doesn't have to be perfect, but you also don't want to be running way off your line and cut the sheet completely crooked. So other than that, it was easier to push through the material because it was just rolling on these wheels. Rip guide, test number 1, and we'll just set it wherever. And I got my handle. That seems to be working. I'm almost below my material here though. And that's not great. The issue here is that this is almost just completely missing the edge of my workpiece, which is, I mean, it'll work, but like just barely. It's catching enough, so let's give it a shot. All right, well, we've done a full-on test. I've made a mess out of my garage, cut up a perfectly good piece of zip sheathing, and what do I think? Well, the rip guide plus the skate plate actually worked really well for just ripping a sheet of plywood to a given width. Even though we couldn't do it at 2 feet, I think that if you had the right extension on this thing, I think it would actually do it because there was basically no friction from the rollers, even though they were barely touching the edge of the plywood, which I think that's a little bit of a design flaw there. Would I recommend buying this tool? If you're doing a lot of ripping of plywood at a given width, especially if it's pre-finished material, yes, I think this would be a good addition to any workshop. As far as framing goes, cutting any kind of like 2x or thicker material, I don't see a real advantage. Let me know your opinion if you have one yourself. Remember to subscribe to our channel and keep a lookout because we're going to do more start to finish builds as well as more tool reviews coming up on our channel. Thank you for watching.